Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ. The city of Billings moving forward with the One Big Sky project in a late night vote. A packed house at the much anticipated city council meeting tonight for that decision on whether or not to adopt the One Big Sky district plan.
Now, project leaders of One Big Sky call a vision to create one of America's great cities of tomorrow. Q2 Zoe Zandora just returned from the meeting and is standing by with the very latest. Zoe.
That's right, Russ and Jeanelle. A very full house tonight at the meeting, which just ended with a 7-3 vote to pass, which means it's going to go on to the state level. Well, tonight, the One Big Sky district, just to recap, is a vision that includes 4 core districts in downtown Billings. And plans also include ideas to fill the gap in the Billings economy and even dives into the issue of population, expecting that Billings will see a 6% growth in the next 5 years. Now, the meeting was open to the public. Some people talked about the positive impact the project can have for the future of either their own businesses here in Billings or what the district could do for their family and their family's future. Some opposed, talking about a plan B, asking why they aren't working with what we have already right here in Billings. Building on that, and the new city administrator spoke to the council, urging the council to adopt the plan. The executive director of Big Sky Economic Development Authority also pushing to adopt the plan so the project can get to the next level, a vote from the state legislature.
To have Billings be a community that is greater for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, something I suspect everyone in this room would sign on to having it as an aspiration for us here in Billings.
So your decision tonight to move forward with this plan actually sends a pretty loud voice to the rest of the state. Time for the state of Montana to get in the game, look at its economic development tools, and move our state forward.
And again, the council voted in favor 7-3 for going forward and supporting One Big Sky. And this means the agreement for the development plan will move forward. Russ and Jeanelle.
All right, thanks so much, Zoe. Well, President Trump is in El Paso, Texas for a rally tonight about his border wall.
Meanwhile, new developments, lawmakers have reached an agreement in principle to avoid a second government shutdown on Friday. Natalie Brand has the latest.
President Trump held a campaign rally in El Paso, Texas on Monday night, and he brought the battle over the border wall with him.
I don't know, you heard, right? Today, we started a big, beautiful wall right on the Rio Grande.
His rally comes just days before the threat of a second partial government shutdown. El Paso's Republican Mayor Dee Margo disputed President Trump's claim that the border barrier made El Paso safer, pointing out that crime began falling before the fence went up.
We were safe before the border wall went up, or I call it the fence.
Not far from Mr. Trump's rally, El Paso native and former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who's said to be considering a 2020 run, held a rally of his own.
We stand for the Constitution of the United States of America and against emergency national security declarations.
Over on Capitol Hill, key members of the House and Senate say they have reached an agreement in principle tonight on border security to avoid a second government shutdown. The latest sticking point centered around the number of ICE detention beds, which Democratic leaders want to cap.
This is a poison pill that no administration, not this one, not the previous one, would or should ever accept.
Lawmakers must pass a deal that the president will sign by Friday night or face another partial government shutdown. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
U.S. Senator John Tester, who serves on the border committee, says, quote, our bipartisan committee did its job and crafted a compromise that will help secure our borders and keep the government open. Montanans deserve that kind of certainty from their lawmakers.
Montana U.S. Senator Steve Daines visited what he calls ground zero of the southern border crisis overnight and says he came away more convinced than ever that the border needs to be secured. Daines says he saw several of the hundreds of people who agents told him cross over the Rio Grande at that spot not far from McAllen, Texas, each night. He says Border Patrol agents also told him that they are only able to stop about 10% of the drugs and people coming across the border in that area. and the building 135 miles of wall there would enable them to reverse that. Daines is pushing hard for the full $5.7 billion that the president wants for border wall funding.
But perhaps the biggest takeaway that I had of the entire night was the fact that we are seeing a flood of illegal drugs pouring across our southern border. Past presidents, Democrats and Republicans, have been able to get border security funding approved by Congress, have built walls. This has become a political football.
Well, Daines said that drugs being brought across the border, particularly meth, are finding their way to Montana.
Secretary of State Corey Stapleton is ordered to pay $4,000 for ethics violations related to his campaign for governor. The Montana Commissioner of Political Practices says the violations stem from Stapleton's candidacy announcement. An employee sent out the announcement from her state email account, which featured the Montana state seal. Now, that's when the Montana Democratic Party filed a complaint saying the announcement misused state resources. At this time, Stapleton can ask for a review of that fine.
A 60-mile stretch of highway in southeast Montana shut down for hours is back open to traffic tonight. This after military projectiles spilled out onto the road during an accident. It all happened when 3 semi-trucks crashed on Highway 212 a little after 9 o'clock last night near Hammond, causing that closure between Broadus and Elzada. Carter County Sheriff Neil Kittleman says 2 semis collided, then a 3rd semi crashed into them, went into the ditch. Kittleman says one of the semis was carrying the military explosives. Kittleman tells Q2 the Air Force was called in to assist with that removal. That road reopened around 6:30 tonight.
Turning now to weather and a look at something wicked. This way comes, and it's coming from Seattle, Bob McGuire.
The Emerald City is white tonight. Let me show you. This is what it'll look like in Seattle today. Now, I want you to know this guy is skiing on the streets. That's not a slope. That's like Queen Anne Hill, okay? So he's skiing right down, either that or Denny Way or one of the two. Anyway, so that's what's happening. They've had 17 inches of snow in Seattle this month, and that breaks the record. And they got another 3 coming this way. In fact, we got that whole storm moving into Montana. Look at this. We still have a number of watches here. We have a winter storm warning for the western part of the state. Could be seeing 4 to 8 inches of snow north of Flathead Lake, 3 to 5 inches of snow south of that. Around Missoula, 2 to 5 inches. Up by Glacier National Park, could see maybe up to 18, 16 inches of snow, and wind chill factors to 35 below zero tonight up in the northeast. It's just a mess out there, and that whole system is starting to come this way. We'll have more about it coming up in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Now, Billings police issued an alert for a missing person in downtown Billings. 34-year-old Kevin Levitt was last seen this morning around 2 o'clock. Police believe he may be in danger due to the weather and his health. If you have any information to his whereabouts, please contact Billings Dispatch. Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, emotional issues in front of the Montana legislature today, from the start of life to the end of it.
Plus, we talk to a father-son team as they take dashing through the snow to a whole new level.
A great story coming up. And in sports tonight, Monday night means Q2 game changer. Scott shows us your top 5.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.